The Sacramento Kings.
Yes.
Are getting some texts on our text line from the 530. Doug Christie's coaching for his life right now. I don't see a situation where he would lose on purpose. Same goes for 90% of the players.
Oh, yeah.
Until Scott is able to make some moves and gut the team, if he does. They'll probably play around 500 ball the rest of the way with the easy schedule. I don't know if that's true, but I agree with most of that. Doug, I think all coaches are coaching for their lives, but in Doug's case, of course, he's a rookie coach. He's not his lifetime coaching record's not above 500,
right?
And you never know when it's a one and done. Of course, he is, and Doug's going to fight and scratch and claw for every win. The only other thing I would disagree with in that text, and not to be too detail oriented, I don't think it's 90% of the players. I think it's 100%. The players and the coaches are going to do everything they can to win every game, and they should.
Yes,
they absolutely should.
Yeah.
If there's going to be any assisting going on with the losing with purpose, it would be as a fallout of moves Scott Perry would make. Scott's not going to say, Doug, this guy's doing too well, don't play him. They may talk about getting the youth some more time, and I think they've done that. We're not seeing Zach LaVine playing 40 minutes a night, and they're making maneuvers for the younger guys, and that may have cost him a win or two.
And I think, as we're watching it real time now, look, Sabonis came back and Schroeder came back, and I thought the first game back was the Wizards game was interesting. Oh, Sabonis is coming off the bench. Okay, that's what they did with LaVine.
Yeah.
I think, to my knowledge, and you could correct me if you remember differently, I think this is the first time Sabonis has ever come off the bench as a King.
I think so.
And then I go, well, it's probably the first game, but the second game against Portland, Sabonis will start. He did not. So I was a little surprised by that. And then, quite honestly, as the game went along, and Doug was asked about it post-game, there was no minute restriction, and Sabonis did not come back in the game. And I thought in the fourth quarter there was Reynaud or Cardwell playing in the game. And I thought, well, I mean, again, what do we want? You can't. This is kind of back to you can't have it all. Part of me was going, I think I would have put Sabonis in, but then I go, well, you know what? Is there more value in having Cardwell try to figure out a way to help win this game, or Reynaud? Probably.
Sure.
So it's an interesting dynamic. Like, Monk's been playing greatly. Great.
Yes.
All right. Keon is not on the injured list tonight. Well, I honestly, look, I think we could all have our opinions. If I try to say, Dave, just for tonight, just like Melissa, you're coaching.
Yeah.
Figure out how are you going to do the minutes. And I don't think it's easy. And it's not a cop-out for Doug or for any of the I don't think this is an easy situation they're in. And when Keegan comes back, it's even more difficult.
Yeah, it is, because someone's got to go.
And when people play the young guys, they are. Start them. I think that's a hard thing to say, like, all right, yeah, DeMar, you're playing great, but we're going to start someone else for you tonight. I don't know how it was a little bit easier while Sabonis was out, while Schroeder was on a 3-game suspension. It's not as easy now.
Is Precious Achiuwa one of the young guys?
I don't know.
He's 26.
Guess so. I guess he's new to this team, but he's also one of the situations where you go, if you look at the roster for this year specifically, I would say Cardwell is way above expectations.
Yeah.
Maxime would be above expectations.
Yes.
Achiuwa, you added the season started. Yeah. Those are wins.
Yes.
Now there's other handfuls that don't fall into that category, and I think that's when we're talking about whether you win the lottery, whether you make a trade, whether you develop players. The more of those things you can have on your roster, that's truly how you build a winning team. Like when you have more wins, not the wins in the game, wins on roster development. This team needs more of that.
It is a really weird mishmash.
And it totally is.
And I look at Scott Perry's moves so far, and I go, okay, well, he kind of created that first-round pick, which, I mean, again, right now.
I didn't put Neek in there. He has not played above that.
No.
He has not. Not at the moment.
There's a really interesting debate if you take emotion out of the equation. Just take the emotion out of the equation. Like, if you're talking about his worst move so far, which haven't been terrible, but his worst move so far is it drafting Nate Clifford or signing Dennis Schroeder. Now, I promise you 90% of the fan base listening right now is like, what are you talking about, idiot? Of course it's okay. Well, look at what Dennis Schroeder has done. Look at his numbers so far. Look at what he's done in the games, and look at what don't think about the hope of Nate Clifford. Just what have they done so far?
And what's interesting is the one I would have maybe offered up, but now in hindsight would change my mind, would have been the Valanciunas move.
Right. But
I did not like that. Because
I didn't either.
He was still here.
We'd have a real problem at center.
Do they even sign on a free agent deal Cardwell? I don't know.
Probably not.
Maxime they may have drafted.
Probably, but he's buried.
Yeah.
He's buried. I agree. I did not like the Valanciunas move either. But in the big scheme of things, and by the way, I'm going to give a ton of credit to Scott Perry. I don't know if he deserves all of this, but if I'm putting my purple glasses on, maybe they knew they had something in Reno. And maybe they also knew what they were trying to and not trying to do this year. And if it was a choice between, well, here's a walking 10 points, 10 boards in Valanciunas, who's a vet and not going to be a part of the future, or, hey, let's give this kid a shot and try to develop some youth. They didn't plan on Sabonis getting hurt. So,
and in a roundabout way, when we always say what can you do to hinder your chances of, a lot of the thought is just play young guys. That's harder to win games with young guys. It can be.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's like they might have been a better team with Valanciunas, but maybe they didn't organizationally.
Sure.
It's like, would Valanciunas have gotten them closer to that 30 win total, 32? It's like, that's a pretty bad spot to be in.
And look, when it comes to, I'm a little torn on Dennis Schroeder. Look, I don't think, look, in retrospect, I know why they signed Dennis Schroeder. They didn't know if they could get Russell Westbrook. They were coming down to the end of the deal, the summertime. And they had to get, they really
did not have a point guard.
They didn't have a point guard, and they wanted to give Doug Christie somebody that was like a legit, not a Malik Monk. God bless him. He's not he's not
Nate Clifford and not Devin Carter.
Right.
It was like,
had to do something. They went, okay, we got to do something. And so we got a vet who's coming off leading this national team to a title, who's got a ton of NBA experience. I get it. And I wasn't a huge fan of the signing either. And it's whatever. But I also think now that we're a few months into the season, again, $15 million, that's a number. But also, Dennis Schroeder actually hasn't been that bad. He hasn't been that bad. I'm looking at
better as a bench player.
100% better as a bench player. Looking at his January, by the way. He's averaging a little over 12 points, 5 assists, a couple of boards on splits of 46, 33, and 72. He's only turned the ball over once a game, which for a guy with that type of usage is a pretty big deal.
And he slapped Luka, so there we go.
He slapped Luka, and he also does bring one thing. I'll tell you what I did like. I don't care about the win or the loss, whatever, fine. What I did like is I liked the spiciness in that Wizards game. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I really like the spiciness in that Portland game between Maxime Reynaud and what's-his-face? Donovan Clingan. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. I want more of that. I'm not saying we should go out and be the Rasheed Wallace Trailblazers, but I like being a little bit scrappy.
Yeah.
Flappy, bappy, wait.
So I think it's on Scott Perry. Look, here's my thing. You have to decide which way you're going. And I may be overly sensitive to this. I just don't want to be in that middle ground.
Yeah.
I just don't want to be, and I agree with you.
And just for definition?
Sure.
Tell me where, because I think, yes, they did win a few games here, and it was fun to watch, and I kind of made fun of that in the last segment, but I didn't think personally it was going to get out of hand, but I also think you have to, as an organization, I don't know, see where that can go. Like the Clippers were as bad as the Kings for a while. They're actually below the Kings.
Yes.
And they've gotten a lot better. Now all of a sudden, if you're in that organization with the amount of talent that they have and the contracts that they've spent, they got to believe with their arrow pointing up and the way they're playing, like, hey, just get us there.
Yes.
And we'll do our damage.
Yes.
The Kings aren't in that spot yet.
Right.
And I don't know that they would get there. But, like, if they then did beat Portland and won this homestand out and were 7-0 and then did some great things on the road trip, I know that's a complete change around.
Sure.
But then would you go, well, we didn't think they were as bad as they were playing.
Yes.
Do they really have something here? I think you have to honor that, but, even losing once kind of interrupts that. And, playing Miami tonight, playing Toronto tomorrow, playing a really difficult road trip, I don't think it's really going to be a dramatic turnaround, but you got to wait and see. To me, I don't think you start thinking about as an organization affecting the way you can win until later in the year.
But don't you kind of have to do that with the trade deadline? Like, that's your one big chance.
Oh, yeah, that's a way.
Yeah.
So, for example, you're talking about Schroeder's a great example. I don't know if he's on the trade block, but if they never acquired him or if they elected to move him now, I still think they have point guard issues.
Yeah.
Now, Westbrook's played it, and he's done a good job.
Sure.
But after that, it's just a little thinner, or if you somehow moved both, that would affect the way your team was running.
Yes.
I don't know that they're going to do that, but that's a way to impact that.
Yeah, Scott Perry can definitely, and we're not even getting to the big three in DeRozan, Sabonis, and Levine,
Right.
and moving any of those guys. I mean, really, I guess at this point, less Sabonis since he's been out so much, but that's going to have an effect on the wins and losses.
Yeah, and that's why I asked the question. So let me do it in maybe what would be deemed the worst possible thing that could happen to a Kings fan.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say they made some of the trades, whatever they are, at the deadline, that everybody in some sort of way felt good about because they either got better contracts back or picks, future draft picks.
Yes.
But by addition, by subtraction, they got into that proverbial no man's land and won enough to get out of like the bottom 6 and into like that 10 range, and you're going, not playing, but
Sure.
wow, you have like the 10th worst record now? Like you're not a lottery team, or you're a lottery team, but you're not a play-in team.
Yep.
Ugh.
Yeah.
But they made the right trades. How
Right.
would you handle that?
I think that's why it's important to provide that context you're providing. So for me, when I say I don't want to be in the middle ground, ideally the middle ground is
doing it with Sabonis, Levine, DeRozan, and those guys.
That's the context. If you're not top 5 or you're not bottom 5, I think you're in the middle. Now, if you're 12th, 11th, 10th, but you've got this. You're the Chicago Bears. You're this young team on the rise, and wow, that came out of nowhere. If you're the first year of the Beam team and you're top 10 but not top 5, okay, I'm fine with that. Also, if you're 7th, 8th, but you were middle of the ground and you can tell they're heading towards a full rebuild, like if you have a clear direction, I think. But if you're a team like this, and yes, if they're sitting there with Levine and DeRozan and Sabonis playing 30-plus minutes, and they end up being the 8th worst team, 7th worst team, 9th worst team. And now I understand, and this is where my words here, I think it's a little bit disingenuous, some of the arguments people come up with, like, yeah, fact. Well, Dallas is in the play, and they got the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
And look, also, I'm trying to think, the Denver Nuggets picked Nikola Jokic, and he was in the second round. Or wait, hold on, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I get that, but again, when you can't guarantee things, for me, this is just how my brain works. Yeah. When I can't guarantee something, I need the statistics. I need the odds. So I think saying, like, for example, Dallas got the number 1 pick last year. Well, yes, and that could happen again this year. But you're not going to Tahoe. You're not going to go to Caesars. And you're not going to hit on 18 because you saw a guy do it a couple months ago. And the whole table's looking at you like you're a moron. You're like, Fred hit on 18 and he got a 3 and he got 21. What's up? Like, you're going to make the best play. And yeah, every once in a while, some jamoke is going to get lucky.
Yeah.
So you have to play the odds, which means what? Which means the higher your pick, the more likely that pick is going to be to do well. The worse your record is, the more likely you're going to get a higher pick. The more draft picks you have, the better odds you are at scoring on one or more of those picks. So that's, to me, how the Kings need to operate. Yeah. If to your point, if Scott Perry trades one or more of those big 3, and we're seeing heavy minutes from Cardwell as we have from Reynaud, Nate Clifford, even Precious Achua, Cardwell, Devin Carter, if they can find him, he's on the side of a milk carton somewhere. If you're seeing those heavy minutes, like, wow, these youngsters are really having fun, and the Beam Boys are wearing their sunglasses, and what are you going to do? You just have to smile and go, well, you know what, we're doing it the right way, and whatever, I'll take it. But if it's these vets that are doing that, and there's people like you do the whole play to win the game. Well, okay, you play to win the game. You're on a treadmill. That's why we've been irrelevant 19 of the last 20 years at minimum, is because we've done the whole you play to win the game thing.
Well, and that's why it gets back to, hey, we all want to be armchair GM. So if you're Scott Perry, you have 16 days to make a trade that could impact that.
Yes.
But also, I think we would all be upset if he's like, well, they dealt one of the veterans, but what a terrible deal.
Yeah.
Like, don't do a deal just to deal.
No,
but
what define a terrible deal though, because I do think if he deals one of the veterans, we've said this before, I think on paper it will probably be a terrible. Like if he trades Zach LaVine, he's not getting that production back.
No, and I'm okay with that. I'm thinking more of, are we still thinking salary relief? Not a better contract. Draft assets.
Getting younger.
That's the boxes I want to check.
One or more of those three, and it fits the mode.
Yeah, and if you go, that player's not as good as Zach LaVine, yeah, probably.
Right. That's right.
But if it checks those other boxes, I'm okay with that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, if we see a trade and it ends up being one or more, whatever for like a win now type of dude, then we know there's something going on.
Yeah, which I don't think he will do.
Yeah.
And again, at what are they? 12 and 31. They're not a player away. They're not.
No.
And I think to your point on what you've been asking for, and I think I agree. I still think their franchise player isn't here. And so
100%.
the better chance of getting that player is in the draft.
100% agree.
Now, you could trade for him. I mean, I don't know. That's trading for SGA. That's rare. It's like, hey, we got him. Oh my gosh, he's a good player. He's the best player. He's the MVP of the league.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen that often.
No, it's a unicorn.
Yeah,
it's doing that type of trade is, well, Jokic in the second round is the all timer. But this if Jokic was a unicorn having a multi-time MVP being drafted during a Taco Bell commercial, then Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's he's a Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. Then it's something like that. Like it's a Loch Ness monster. One of those things, not a unicorn. But let's also remember the theme of the Sacramento Kings. So you talked about, trading. And I agree with you. The guy who's going to lead us to a title, if we win a title in the next decade, is in high school or college right now. But also, we have to have perspective on Sacramento, too, which is you have to force people to come here. We can't blueprint like other teams, or at least we never have been able to, and I don't see how we would now. Our two greatest free agent signings in franchise history are Vlade Divac and DeMar DeRozan, right?
Yeah, besides guys that they were ended up keeping, but
yes.
That's how they have to do it: trade for them,
yes.
and then have the ability to re-sign.
Yes,
yeah,
when you have a financial advantage, they've lived here, they realize that Sac's a great place. But I always try to cut through it. You have to force them. You have to either draft them and they don't have a choice, or you have to trade them and they don't have a choice. We talked about the most effective trade in Kings history was Billy Owens for Mitch Richmond. Not only did we get Mitch Richmond in that run, but Mitch Richmond became Chris Webber. And again, you had two guys that had to be forced to come here. You're able to re-sign them and build around them. But it's through drafting or trading. When you look at the first run of the Sacramento Kings, I would say the Vlade Divac signing was probably just about as similar to the DeMar DeRozan signing. Mm-hmm. But what people also don't remember about the Vlade Divac signing is that we were not his first choice. Right. We also weren't his second choice. We were his third choice. And the reason why we signed him was because, well, we made an offer, number one. Number two, he wanted to be closer to his family in Southern California. It wasn't like Vlade was playing for Milwaukee and decided to come to Sacramento. In DeMar DeRozan's case, I don't know what the market was for DeMar DeRozan, but here we are less than 2 years later, and there's no market for DeMar DeRozan. So that's my point. You're not grabbing the Giannis's or whatever of the world through free agency. So you got to draft and you got to trade. The only difference is, Jason, right now, we don't have I don't know, do we have a Billy Owens, even much less a Mitch Richmond, to trade for a Mitch Richmond or Chris Webber? I don't think we have a Mitch, do we?
No, I don't think so. I mean, and part of it, I think they have the people that are close to the caliber, and that's Sabonis and LaVine.
Sure.
But the contract's the hindrance, right?
Yes.
Like if it was, let's say this. Do you think if Sabonis and LaVine made the same amount as DeRozan, could they be flipped? They'd
already be gone.
Yeah.
They'd already be gone.
They've already made their money, and it's no fault of them, but that's, again, back to difficult trade. It's hard to trade right now in the NBA.
Which
or I think they could make more trades if they wanted to move future first-round picks, which they don't, and I don't think they should.
No, I agree with you.
I hope they don't.
But I wish Adam Silver would freaking fix this because it's lame. I don't remember ever talking about in the Mitch Richmond days or the Chris Webber days or any of these other days in the Artest Peja days. I don't ever remember having this type of devaluation based on contract.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, well, we're getting this guy. Now it's like not even hardcore NBA fans. Like, I imagine there's like 17-year-olds that are like, yeah, this guy averages 25 and 8 and does this and that. Oh man, 45 million though too. Like, it's like you have to. They might as well put on the back of the card points, rebounds, percentages, all that, and then like salary and how long you're signed for, because it's a stat.
It'll be interesting to watch because like we're living in the cycle right now of where the NBA is. Let's just pretend there's a universe where OKC just doesn't win another championship, right? So they're going to have 70-something million on the hook for SGA, 40 for Chet, 40 for Jalen. Like, they won't be able to move those guys.
No.
Now, that's a dramatic thought to think the team that's got the best record in the league won't get another championship. But what if they don't? And they're one of those exercises where, like, they're set up so beautifully now.
Right.
But if it doesn't work for them, and these teams that have all these high-paid guys, how are they going to do it?
Right.
Unless they win.
Which is why the last thing I would want to do right now is be OKC.
Yeah.
They are screwed.
Mm-hmm.
They're.
That's the last thing.
We'll take a break. When we come back, let's get back to football. 4 down territory, best and worst of the weekend. Then at 8:43, who's hot, who's not. We'll